Start today by returning to a passage of the poem Fear by Khalil Gibran, which reads, "But there's no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but becoming the ocean." Here we are all together in this circle-ish arrangement with those at home, and that's the camera, by the way, that we show to, those at home, part of our extended circle, because the river needs to take the risk of entering into the ocean. With Ingathering Part 1 2 weeks ago and Ingathering Part 2 today, we're talking about redefining our understanding of the meaning of community at UUCF. Part of the legacy of Unitarian Universalism of the later part of the 20th century was the sense of, how is the church serving me? Not me, David Miller, but me. You get it, what I'm saying. I believe that we have turned that ship in recent years because there's a growing understanding that the primary question now is, how are we all serving the mission of UUCF, which breaks down this idea of consumer individualism and helps support the incredibly needed concept of how are we all working together to grow, to connect, and to serve the mission of our congregation. Beyond that, which has become even more apparent to me since the onset of this once-in-a-century global pandemic, is that the UUCF community is so much larger than we have typically considered it before. We so often measure this community by members and what we call our database friends and pledging friends and activity partners, all designed to help us understand the makeup of UUCF. But when we canceled in-person everything that impacted children's schooling and choirs who use this space to gather in community and practice their art here with such joy, and it had impacted meditation groups and recovering groups that haven't even yet returned, and there are elders who use our community on every Thursday morning. If nothing else, when we had to cancel everything in person, it demonstrated to us how interconnected we truly are. So what does this mean? What it may mean is that the time has come for UUCF to think of itself differently, to define community beyond the database numbers that represent members and friends, and to consider the possibility that there are larger forces at play. Now, in some ways, this could easily be a kickoff sermon for our annual campaign, because it is truly vitally important for this resource, this touch point, this sacred space to remain thriving and financially healthy for years to come. But this is not a campaign kickoff. It's more of a love letter, a testimony of our need to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear, because that's where the river will know. It's not about disappearing into the ocean, but becoming the ocean. In asking our community partners to join us today, I asked some of them for a few brief words of the meaning of UUCF to themselves and their organization, and here is what a few of them said. Eric Goppelrud, who happens to also be a member but is chair of the Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions, wrote, "From fall 2012, when a small group of us began meeting in the UUCF basement to discuss what we could do about climate change, UUCF has been a strong foundation and support for what's become Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions. UUs and people of all faith traditions and the nones, those with no faith tradition, over 2,600 activists from more than 190 faith communities throughout Northern Virginia have joined into a powerful movement that has moved Fairfax to make real progress on climate change. Michael Mulroney from the Shepherd Center said, Shepherd Center meets on Thursdays. UUCF is an ideal environment to conduct our program. Tai Chi and Qigong are used as healing programs for body, mind, and soul. The slow and methodical movements allow everyone to reflect and meditate on how to improve and enjoy their lives. The stretching and balancing exercises provide us all with an opportunity to keep our bodies in tune. And our Adventures in Learning program allows everyone to enjoy engaged speakers who address topics relative to health and wellness, travel, arts, entertainment, and world affairs. These classes are informative and entertaining and helpful in allowing everyone to have a meaningful life. And the best part about the Tai Chi and the Adventures in Learning classes are people we get to know and provide us with an opportunity to develop friendships. These programs and friendships are critical and have been critical during and after the difficult times caused by the pandemic for often these seniors who spend a lot of time alone. And then this is from Mosaic Harmony. Mosaic Harmony is the choir that brings people together of diverse cultures and ages and backgrounds and multiple faith traditions to celebrate unity and humanity. And they're joined together by the ministry of music and beliefs that unite them as a choir, which energize them to share their message and connect with others. Mosaic Harmony is grateful to UUCF for the support of its choir through its inception to the present. UUCF has been there as they grew in numbers, as they created their vision and mission, and as they became a nonprofit organization. They have always felt welcome and at home at UUCF, and they are thrilled to be back home this year for rehearsals, which started this past week. And Capital Harmonia is a local women's chorus, and they said, we're grateful for the generosity and hospitality of UUCF. We have the opportunity to commune and create music that is shared at shelters and with organizations that support the needs of women in our community. And of course, the Siena School, whose role is to empower students with language-based learning differences, and I would remind you all, contribute greatly to our budget, which we are grateful for. And here's what a couple of the students said. Thank you, UUCF, for hosting the Siena School last year and this year. Your campus is beautiful and has been a wonderful space for me to learn. And I am thankful for our building because it gives us a safe place to learn. And being at Siena gives me confidence. And thank your church for letting us use your space. And a staff member wrote, as we build our own Siena community, we are welcomed and included in the UUCF community. We feel welcomed, and not just as renters. If you are from a community partner, a school, a renter, a choir, will you please rise and please receive the applause of our love and of your partnership. So please rise now. Please rise. You see, the rent from these renters helps to support our mission, but more than that. The community that we touch and are a part of is so much more than just the members and friends listed in our database. A big part of the Welcome Forward concept that we've been talking about to start this year is broadening our concept of community. In our mission statement, for years we have said to transform ourselves, our community, and the world through acts of love and justice. And the word community can be defined in so many ways. But in our search for a shared meaning, how about we really intentionally begin to think about UUCF community as a web of connection that reaches out far beyond anything that we can track in a database? Sick of numbers. Sick of them. As we begin this new congregational year, as we move to advance the COVID phase 2 part of our world. For those of you who weren't here, I described COVID phase 1 as this. Ah! And COVID phase 2 is, let's be intentional. And as we deal with the unknown and unknowable future that we face, what if we think of our community as an intergenerational hub for transformation and acts of love? What if in these troubling and challenging times we take on as an act of love and justice the understanding that the UUCF community is wider and deeper than we ever previously thought, and that we need to continue to widen and deepen this even further to promote connection and love of neighbor and the act of our mission. This is a part of our calling to open up, to open our hearts, to open our minds, to open our doors, to open the resources of these facilities, to open our understanding of what community is. This is not the time to pull in. This is a time to reach out. And reaching out can feel risky. But please remember this. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take a risk of entering the ocean, because only then will our fear disappear, because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. May that be so, and amen.